Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Jay Tilson and I'm Director of Strategy at Access, as well as being co-founder of the SSE Forum. Thank you for joining me today for this episode of my video series, The Zero Trust Architect. In this episode, I'm going to talk about third-party and contractor access. I'm going to talk about how we gave access to these people in the past and how I think we should give access to these people moving forward when we consider zero trust. Now, zero trust is a philosophy, and at its heart is never trust, always verify. And I think this is really imperative when we consider devices that we don't own and can't control. And this is certainly the case in most instances with third-party and contractor access. Those third-party and contractors bring their own devices, they're not owned by corporate IT, and you can't secure them, you can't maintain them, and you can't patch them. Now, I've worked in manufacturing companies for 25 plus years. So in this episode, I'm going to talk through a couple of scenarios I've seen. I'm going to talk about how we used to do things and how we can possibly do things in the future. I hope you find it useful. So let's consider Stacey. Now, Stacey is a financial contractor. She needs access to several finance applications across your WAN. These finance applications are running on web servers. She needs access several times a month at month end to help you with the month end reporting. She's a third party contractor, and the company that she works for also contracts her out for a number of other companies. She brings her own computer and therefore she has to run several VPN clients. So before we even get into her journey, let's talk about the situation she's already going to be in. She's going to have to try and get permission from the security team to install another VPN client, and that's going to take paperwork and that's going to take time. And then let's assume she gets to permission to do that. She's then going to install another VPN client. In my experience, that's going to cause problems. You're going to get conflicts, you're going to get issues, they don't like working together. And if she happens to already have a VPN client from the company you use for VPN, then she's going to need another profile. It's going to be confusing and difficult for Stacey to manage, and really it's just troublesome. So you've got that scenario to start with. So now let's look at her kind of path into getting that access. So I'm going to try drawing, so bear with me. Stacey's going to traverse over the internet. She's then going to go into some form of kind of VPN concentrate or a firewall. She's then going to go via some kind of DDoS defense system into the NAC, SSL decryption, IPS, firewall, and then she's going to traverse down onto your WAN. And notice she's going to get access directly on your WAN. So she may not go through all these different systems. You may only have some of them, but whatever you have is more than likely from different vendors and they don't fit together too well. They're going to be managed by different teams. And when she does traverse through all of them, she's going to get dumped straight on your WAN. She's going to get an IP address. She's going to pretty much get access to everything whenever she wants and whenever she wants. Add on top of that the fact that Stacey is probably also going to be connecting to other companies at the same time. That attack surface is now going to be very, very wide and very large. Now, if Stacey was a malicious attacker, she could get access and do all kinds of damage. But let's assume Stacey's not malicious. Even by accident, if she gets ransomware on her machine, she's going to go wherever she wants. She's going to infect multiple systems, or even if one of the other companies she's connected to at the same time gets infected, she has a chance to be infected, and she's going to traverse all over the network and spread that around. So it's really not a good scenario for her to be in or for you to be in. So let's look at how we can possibly do things differently. So with access, you install a lightweight connector near the application. Now that connecting can run on VMware, Hyper-V, or even in the cloud. But in this scenario, you would put it near the application. You would install it on your virtual platform. Now, I'm going to draw this out, but I'm going to draw it from one scenario. Okay, I'm not going to do it all the applications. So you install this lightweight connector. This lightweight connector creates an outbound connection to the Atmos SSE platform. Now, please note that with this scenario, there's inbound connections. You don't need that. It's outbound only. And then that connector is what publishes that application out to Stacey. Because she doesn't need an agent on her machine, therefore she doesn't need to go through all the pain of getting permission to install an agent. She doesn't need to worry about it being conflicting or all that problems that causes. Basically, she does agentless access over the internet into the SSE platform. That SSE platform is where the brain is. That brokers those two connections together, so the outbound connection and the inbound connection, and she gets access agentlessly directly onto that finance application. You don't need any of this hardware any longer. You don't need to be patching it, updating it, firmwaring it, feeding and watering it, any of that stuff, and you don't have those inbound connections. So you remove that threat and you connect Stacey straight from her device as a user into that application. Zero trust at heart. So let's look at Colin. Now Colin is an engineer, manufacturing company. You've got OT equipment out on the shop floor, and he gets an emergency phone call to say that there's a problem with the OT equipment, and he needs kind of one-off connectivity into that OT equipment. He needs to SSH into a Linux server so that he can get that access. He's got his own computer, again controlled by his company, not controlled by the corporate IT, and again he runs multiple VPN clients. So it's a similar scenario. It's already drawn out to make things simpler. But Colin, again, over the internet, traverses through all of this hardware, all of these security applications, straight onto your WAN. Again, gets an IP on your WAN, can go wherever and he wishes, whenever he wishes. Now, you may well have controlled some ACLs to make things simpler, but given this is an emergency, probably one-off scenario, you need it done now, you need it done quickly, there's a good chance you won't do that. They're troublesome, they're difficult to configure. And again, through speed and requirement, you're probably not going to do that. However, Colin is likely to be connected to other companies or has the potential to do that. So you've just made a massive attack surface. And again, he could either be malicious or by accident, he could spread viruses, ransomware, etc. So similar scenario. You install this lightweight connector, creates an outbound connection to the platform the same. The OT is passed through this connection. It's SSH, so it's agentless again. Lots of visibility. You can see all the commands he's running. You can keep an eye on him. You can even delegate like the times or define the times in which you can get in. Access actually has their own IDP, so you don't need to worry about getting on the corporate IDP. Quick and easy access. You get him up and running. He comes in, like I said, agentlessly, SSH, straight into the Linux server, fixes the OT and drops off. Very easy. None of this hardware needed again. Again, very straightforward. So let's look at Gavin. Yes, it is Gavin and Stacey for those English people. I thought it'd be funny. Gavin is a engineer, uses CAD package, so he has to RDP into systems because of obviously the amount of data that traverses over the internet if you're using CAD. So he RDPs in. He's an independent contractor. He works just for himself and he's quite security kind of savvy. So every time he connects to a company, he installs that VPN client for that company. When he's finished working for them, he removes that VPN client and he puts the new one on for the new company. But the scenario is the same. I mean, he traverses over the internet through all of this hardware and software again, for all of these appliances, gets dumped on your network, traverses over your LAN and WAN, jumps on his RDP server, and then manages to get into his engineering server, does his work, does a couple of days, does a day, does a month, whatever it might be, removes your VPN client, and off he goes. So, very similar situation in the result, in the way we look at things with zero trust. Again, RDP servers published to the connector. That connector publishes an outbound connection again to the Atmos platform. If I can draw this nicely, the engineering server then application connects into the RDP server. Again, agentlessly, no need for an agent. Gavin doesn't need to mess about, doesn't need to put agents on and off of his machine. He can come in agentlessly, RDP in, again, access IDP, however you want to configure it, gets access to that engineering application, and away he goes. Again, no IP on the network, no threat from that, none of this hardware required. Again, you can remove all of this, and it's simply done by zero trust. He, as a user, gets access just to the application he needs access to, and nothing else. Pure and simple. So, that's my scenarios covered. Quite happy to talk about other scenarios if anyone's got any interest. Feel free to reach out to me. I hope you find that useful, and again, if you have any questions, please let me know.